This week on PTL, we take a look back at one of the craziest opening weeks in World's history. Plus, we take a look at the teams now moving forward and making the run to the quarterfinals. Hold on to your chowder, because Primetime League starts right now.
But he needs Megan off. That is a deleted, if ever I've seen one. San Francisco is going crazy. Brazil scored the biggest goal of the tournament so far. They're taking down the LPL.
Hello and welcome to another World's edition of Primetime League. I'm Remington Bisson III, along with Joshua Jatt Leasman, Ifya Shocks reporter, and Sam Kobe Hartman Kensler. Once again, NA reigns supreme on the desk for PTL.
We just started.
And EU kind of having some trouble, but we'll get into it. First off, I think we've seen one of the best weeks we have ever seen in the first week of Worlds here in 2016. It has been absolutely crazy.
I remember thinking the same thing last year at the Worlds, though.
But with more EU wins.
So I want to...
Last year, NA did win 6 games in week 1. Yeah. We had 3 from Cloud9, 2 from COG, and 1 from TSM. It's a little more spread
blacked out in week 2.
So let's actually bring up the standings and see where the teams sit now. North America and Korea sitting at 6 and 3. China's LPL 5 and 4. Not too bad in the standings with IWC and LMS 3 and 3. And Europe not having the greatest week at 1 and 8. Shocks, I'm gonna have to let you talk first there.
Yeah, I just really don't know what happened, to be honest. I thought G2 would show up a lot harder, and I think when they had that first loss, they just kind of never mentally recovered. And it's weird because you're always left wondering, is this just because that was the level in EU and they just, or is something else going on? I felt like they could recover, but I don't know. It doesn't look good.
I feel like there's a lot of variance in Worlds, right? And it was 6 and 3 and then 0 and 10. So really, if you have a bad week, then it's not too bad on the region, right?
But 0 and 3.
G2 at least, they were winning that game against the Rocks Tigers. I think they should have closed that one out.
It was the game they looked the best in was their game versus
Splice had a
Rock
6,000
Tigers.
lead against TSM.
TSM.
There was some variance.
These are best of one.
Made them have like 3 or 4
But it's
wins.
even sadder, isn't it? That, you know, they almost beat the Rocks Tigers, and then they couldn't close it out. Then Splice magnificently squandered a lead that is impressive to do.
Sad.
Right.
Yeah.
But it could be a little bit more variant.
Yeah.
Well, all the topsy-turvy games actually provided us with a plethora of champions that were played, a great diversity, and Elise now finds herself as the most played champion at Worlds. I don't think that would have been the first one I would have thought of. How do you guys feel about it? I'm sure the junglers are happy.
I don't know, yeah, as a jungler, that would be one of the first ones I do point to, just because she's been around for so long and she's been viable for so long. I mean, she does the same thing that she did in all the previous years as well. It's that level 3 kit.
And the Lee Sin also.
Lee Sin back. We have kind of a old school jungle pool in a sense. I think champion diversity wise, we're at 46 overall after 1 week, so it's not as much as we had last year. Last year there was the whole Juggernaut patch and all the other things. They were kind of mixing things up and spicing things. And there does seem to be a relatively set pool of champions at most roles. I think it gives us a different look to every game, but there's no way we're hitting the number of champions we hit last year.
But I do think it's an interesting kind of pool that is set. You have a lot of playmaking champions, of course, up in the top lane, a lot of Kennen, and a lot of things that are just interesting to watch, better than, as you said, last year when we just had a lot of tanks.
I also really like to see how the champion pools are going to evolve, because we've seen a couple teams have success with similar play styles. Like the Skarner and Karma has become really big recently, and I still really want to see Kled work with something also like Skarner, because you know you can get to the backline very quick. But I feel like there are more options that we have yet to see and will be explored at Worlds.
Well, we talked a little bit about the playmaking and what these champions can do. It's been giving us some pretty fast games, but we also did get our second longest game ever at Worlds. Cloud9 Flash Wolves, a 70-minute slugfest, but not the best, not the longest, 1 minute and 14 short of OMG Fnatic. And I don't know if anybody's ever going to top that.
No, and the players were also very beat down after it. Like you saw it on the cams. There was not a lot of happiness there. And even Sneaky afterwards said that this didn't even feel like a win. And but in the end, they should have been happy because I think they recovered really well after that and put on the great game the day after.
Yeah, that's kind of the feeling that teams have when you start out the game and one team is very, very far ahead. So you feel like the whole game, that's going to be the team to win. And yet this team, the Cloud9, spent the whole time feeling like they're losing, and then they finally get the win. You don't really get that cash in of, yeah, we did it. It's more of like,
NA at Worlds last year.
Thank
I feel like
goodness.
they're winning the whole time. And then
I think it's really important, though, that they did win that game as far as their overall chances are, because that kind of shows why you need to win those 70-minute slugfests.
Yep.
Whoever wins that game after the end of the results, would have ended up tied for first in the group. Like they're 2-1 with SKT right now. That could easily be Flash Wolves if C9 didn't pull that one out. So those games are real important.
Every single game is incredibly important considering how close these groups are when you talk about variance as well. And for Cloud9 specifically, every game they've had, they've looked better and better because they started out getting smashed by SKT. So only way you can go is up from there. And Meteos especially. I feel like Meteos got a lot of extra flack that he probably didn't deserve on the Lee Sin game. Yeah, you know, wasn't quite as proactive as he would want to be.
He deserves flack. He doesn't deserve the flack he is getting.
Exactly.
Okay.
He was getting made fun of in games he's not even in.
Yeah.
All right, new flak jacket for Meteos. We'll be good to go. So, you know, it's that time of the show. Now I'm going to ask you to turn it up to 11 because it's time for the first edition of this World's Mic Check.
I'm down for a brand support. I saw it do well a couple games ago.
Yeah, you could solo Baron, basically.
Yeah, legit.
We just have to make sure that we 100% commit, okay?
Sure.
Every single time we see it play, we have to fully commit, okay?
Cancel logic.
All right.
We're finally at Worlds, guys, so this is our time to show up. All right, good luck, have fun.
Are you studied to clear mid?
Okay, we have to care for the intelligent
Guys,
catch also.
they're can't rotate easily. From there we are.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm moving. Shield remove.
No flash. It's hard to chase, I think. I will here.
There, guys, they're faster from mid.
We're running. I'm on Italy. We're running. Carry your alone.
Nidali no flash. I will shield blood.
Aria is... I'm 1 HP.
He's here?
Yeah, I see him. He's
If you can get a Q on him,
He's ulting out.
He's gonna ult.
I go.
Okay, look.
I chase him.
I'm ghosting.
I'm cutting off Rumble.
I'll look for the next Q.
I'm losing away, but I'm not gonna
Rumble
chase.
and Cassie are coming.
I can't go.
Come, Kevin, you have to come.
Who's that?
Nice.
Okay, get me out.
Rumble can be in the jungle.
I'm hovering. Okay, I'm
Cassie's
gonna
outside. You're fine. You're fine.
Yeah.
Good job.
I can TP now. I'm angry. Now I'm angry. Cancel the bird. Now I'm angry.
I'm TP.
I'm TP.
Dipping. I can't.
No flash.
Nice.
Теперь Кира мид.
Можем типа на миде потыкаться или меня топите?
Я могу попробовать выйти на мид.
Гайс, мы можем напасть на них. Идем закрывать их.
По Ариане, Ариана.
Ариана, вжимай ее. Бекса убили.
나우터. 지라. 나이스 피니시. 나이스.
Go for bot tower. Even there, duo. I can push this to roam bot.
I can hold it.
Cassie's top.
Just run if you can. I'm out.
Okay, I think I'm out.
Nice. I can hold it too.
밀어낼 수 있어요? 카시 볼 수 있나? 카시 놓고. 카시.
잡고. 제이스 높을.
올라프 슬로우.
월정이야.
저 개인이 자수.
오케이.
나루 유지 나루 베이사. 나이스.
I'm walking up here. The next safe.
Oh, coming top. Hey, Mauser. See Mauser?
I got.
Yo, see Mauser?
Go right. Take him right.
Poppy. No flash.
Poppy.
I'm behind them.
I'm watching Poppy.
Yeah, Trevor, you're alone.
No.
Alright, I pull right now.
Yeah, I have stun.
We got dead.
I stunned them.
Alright,
Oh, you don't need to do that.
Waiting top. We go back.
Окей, мы почти забрали Израиля. Я в зоне встал. Убили Поппи.
Если мы убьем Израиля, это энд.
Израиля убить!
Афрому. Элиза.
Элизу зачистить!
Окей, надо убить Гара.
Пуши мид, просто добиваем ее, добьем ему пушить мид.
Alright, same time, guys? No, right now.
Yeah, Raid is an exercise, boys. You ready?
Yeah.
Wait.
Who's counting?
Yeah. I'll count down. Go.
No, me.
Yeah.
I'll do 3, 2, 1, go, okay? Alright, ready? Alright, wait. 3, 2, 1, go.
Let's go, boys!
Good job, guys.
追，紧张！投降！
太爽了！
Calma. Wait.
Oh, não, calma. Ó, ícone 1, 2, 3, já! Bate. Até o fim.
Caralho!
right, so let's start things off with Group A. This is Rox, Albus, Nox Luna, CLG, and G2. Shocks. I know, it's going to be tough when we get to these groups every time. You don't have to come to you first, but there is a traffic jam here. 2 and 1 for the top 3 teams of Rox, Albus, and CLG in this Group A.
I actually want to start by talking about Albus, Nox Luna. Super impressed because, you know, we've kind of grown accustomed to the fact that the wildcard representatives play better and get 1 win, but I feel like this is the best chance that a team will ever have to advance. I think their comp, the one with the Anivia and the brand, was super inventive.
The poppy wall with the Anivia wall, or the poppy stun with the Anivia wall was one of my favorites.
Yeah, definitely. And then I just like that they're being creative and they're pushing it home and they have a real chance of making it.
Yeah, I think they have a chance of making it, but I also want to remember, like, figuring out of the 2-1 teams who have the most repeatable victories.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think the Anivia brand is a repeatable victory because I think brand's a pretty easy band to throw away. And in both of their wins, they snuck a Baron earlier on in the game, and those are things that aren't going to happen every game. Like, you can't just say, oh yeah, our strategy in this game is we're going to sneak a Baron.
Sweet. I mean, Fnatic snuck Barons for 3 years.
I thought that after the first game, when they snuck it the first time, I was like, oh, okay, they're not going to get any more of those. And then they did it again, and I was like, ah.
Definitely credit to them. Like, they prepared super well. They got the 2 wins. They definitely deserve all of those victories. But I still have them as the underdogs when you're comparing them with COG. I actually might even have them as underdogs going into every single game.
But if you talk about variance, CLG also had a really up and down performance, and the games that they were good in, they were great. Like the Rox game was fantastic, but then the one that they weren't that good in versus Albus, Nox Luna, I think you can say the same thing for variance.
Yeah, bringing up repeatability, Relly and Soul is probably going to be permabanned versus CLG again, so repeatability of that game will be probably 0.
Yeah, we'll see. And G2, I mean, I still absolutely think that they have a chance. I mean, as said last year, all kinds of craziness happened in the second week of group stage. But I think the problem here is, or the issue, the biggest obstacle is that Rox is their first game. And imagine if it goes the way it did and they lose it again so close, then I think you're kind of donezo for the rest of the day because you can't get back on the horse and you need those 3 wins.
The tilt on that could be super real.
Yeah.
And it definitely seems like they've been dealing a little bit with nerves, surprisingly. You have Sven and Mithy, who've had so much Worlds experience, but Perks definitely, he's not a bad mid laner in Europe, but he has not looked good at Worlds, and I think a lot of that does have to do with nerves. He got hit by 3 Anivia Qs, the first 3 Anivia Qs in lane is Orianna, and that just means your head's not necessarily in the game. He's a much better player to be able to outplay those, but he just wasn't doing it.
Yeah, I hope he can pull back together because this is kind of the trauma that is building, and I mean, that's a tough thing for a team to overcome if this was to happen.
Absolutely, especially when you're coming in hoping to kind of right wrongs that other people are seeing. So I got to ask you now, who is going to be getting out of Group A? We'll go down the line, Jatt. We'll start with you first. Number 2.
I still think Rox is going to get out of the group, and we didn't necessarily talk about them. They had an incredibly worrying week 1 in the fact that they were down 4,000 gold at 20 minutes to both G2 and CLG. So that's a big red flag. But to me, when we see the history of Korean teams at the World Championship, their week 1s are actually not always stellar, but they're pretty much always stellar after that. So I do feel like Rox Tigers is going to be able to bounce back and probably end the group something like 5-1, if I had to guess. And then after that, I would say maybe G2 can take a game off CLG, but I don't see them taking all those games off of them, so I think CLG gets out as the second.
All right, Shots?
Yeah, it hurts to say it, but I think it's going to be Rox and CLG. It doesn't hurt that much, but I mean...
Will G2 get enough wins so that people can meme their name in G2 and 4? Or are they going to fall short of that?
I think they're going to get 2 wins, and they won't make it out of the group, so the memes are real, but I feel like CLG...
We did these predictions after the day yesterday, and I said Rox and CLG, and I think I'm still going to stick with that. The one thing is that Rox's early game, we knew coming into this, it wasn't stellar. It wasn't going to be the thing that we point to when we're saying, oh yeah, they're favorites of the tournament. But their early game has been atrocious, and they definitely need to step it up there. I do think that they can patch that up, though, as we move forward in the tournament.
Yeah, the thing with the Rox early game, sorry if I'm jumping on the predictions, is their first 10 minutes wasn't great, but their 10 to 20 was awesome as far as their performance in Korea. But their 10 to 20 has been pretty bad here at Worlds, and it is about patching that up, and I know we're kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt when we're not giving it to the other teams, but I think that's because they've been so good in Korea for so long.
Korea's earned it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out this week who makes it out of Group A and who gets dropped out of Group A. For now, we're going to head over to Twitter before we grab the rest of the groups.
Hello! Now, Freak is gone, so I'm going to do Twitter this week, and we all remember that the question from last week was, who will have the highest KDA from week number 1 and for a chance at the Hall of Fame? What will that KDA be? Now, none of you actually got the question right, and it technically was Core JJ, even though he only played one game. But I like winners, Freak's not here, so I'm gonna cheat a little, go down the list. Bang had the next highest KDA, 9.5, and actually 31 of you got that right. So we had to do a little lottery to see who's gonna get the skin, and it is Anton Reichenbeck. Congratulations, my friend, you are the winner this week. Now, if you wanna be the winner next week and get into the Hall of Fame, our next question is gonna be, who in week 2 is gonna have the most deaths? And for a chance to the Hall of Fame, how many deaths will they have? Now, send your tweets to @LOL Esports and use the hashtag PTL.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, now let's jump into Group B as we're moving on. This group consists of Cloud9, SKT, IMEI, and the Flash Wolves. SKT and Cloud9 sitting nice and pretty at top with Flash Wolves and IMEI 1 win behind them. How are we feeling about this group?
This group is crazy.
It's pretty crazy. Going into the last day, I thought SKT for sure, they're looking the cleanest of every team in the tournament. And then we get more upsets, right? And that's where the craziness ensues.
Yeah, we were on the analyst desk right before this last game, and we said, if Flash Wolves beat SKT here, it would descend the group into chaos. We are officially in chaos now for this group. And it does seem like it makes a little bit more sense. Flash Wolves essentially was underperforming for their ability to close out games, and they shouldn't have been an 0-3 team, but it's really surprising that it was actually SKT who they took the game off of.
You know what helps?
What helps?
Aurelion Sol.
Well,
it did win 2 games
in a row.
It definitely does. I feel like every Korean team will ban Aurelion Sol for every game for the rest of the tournament if the other team plays it at all.
Yep.
The other thing that helped is that they put Blank in, I think. That helped Flash Wolves, and I don't think that Blank is going to come back for the next games. I don't know about further down the tournament, but I think that we need to see some more Bangi for them.
It's been an interesting season already for SKT. In times they've gone through Worlds, only losing 1 game at the end towards the final match, but there's a little bit more here in the early stages. How are we feeling about IMEI and Flash Wolves being able to kind of make an impact in this group? Shocks?
Well, IMEI had a good start, I guess. They had a very good game, and then I thought they looked good, but we didn't really expect that much from them, right, in the end, and it looked that, I don't know, I don't see them getting out of the group specifically.
Yeah, I think IMEI looks like the weakest team in the group, and I think there's a few stats that back that up. As far as percentage of time with the goal lead, they're one of the lowest teams at the entire tournament, because even the game they won against Flash Wolves, they were trailing for most of it, and it wasn't until they got a Zach Elderdrake steal that they were able to win the game. They just don't seem like they're very clean. They're not winning their lanes. Avoidless doesn't have the super clever jungle pathing so far that we've really expected out of him, and the team just isn't really clicking.
But Avoidless has been the one that has been the most impactful, maybe with Athena, for me at least, for some of the plays.
For their team,
yeah.
For sure. I do think that that's one of the teams that will, expand the pool of champions that we see, because we always hear about, oh, this is the hardest working team coming out of the LPL. I feel like they're going to be pressed to try something a little bit more risky. As you say, they're at the bottom of the group and they are struggling a bit. So maybe that opens up the door for some more creativity from them.
All right, boys and girls, picks to get out of Group B. Kobe, we'll start on that end. You're first.
I still am going to have SKT first. No way I'm moving that around, even though they did lose to Flash Wolves. And then it gets pretty difficult for me between Flash Wolves and Cloud9, because Cloud9, their first 2 games of groups were very, very bad. And their early game, we talk about the bad early game of Rocks, Cloud9's early game, especially in those first 2 games, was very, very bad. It did look a lot better, when Midos got on the Olaf. And I said he was taking a little bit much flack on the Lee Sin, but I don't think he should play it anymore. But yeah, Cloud9, I think I'll go with them over Flash Wolves, because they did get the one victory in the late game already, and that'll make it SKT and Cloud9 for me then.
Yeah, I have to agree. I put Cloud9 over SKT in my pick'ems, but I feel like I'm going to abandon that now. In the end, I think SKT.
They're tied.
Yeah, they are tied, but I feel like SKT has what it takes to be first in the group, and I've just been really impressed with Jensen when he's had a good game, and then Impact when they have good games, and when they have them together, they're pretty much
Jensen has a bad game though.
I didn't want to mention that, but no, I think C9 is definitely getting out of the group.
Yeah, and this group is really insane to me. I'm hoping for Cloud9 that they're reverse of what they were last year, where they had a slow start and then they kind of find their footing and they make it to Worlds, because last year it felt like they had all that confidence and swagger with High, and they just kind of came in with the Veigar Tristana comp and crushed people in week 1 of Worlds. Here, though, it didn't really seem like they had things figured out right off the bat, and they've since adapted to pick up the 2 victories, which I think is a really promising sign for them. And this is also a group, just because Flash Wolves seems to be SKT's kryptonite, where maybe we get a 4-4-2 and that couldn't be a 4-4-2 because of the way Flash Wolves lost. So because of that, that means since Flash Wolves is already 1-2, and I think C9 will beat them again, that would make C9 and SKT out of the group. The same predictions as everyone else. But what I'm saying is they could continue to trade games.
I like it.
I'm showing my work. I don't think anyone is making out of that group with the same number of losses they have this week.
Absolutely.
I think every one of those teams is going to lose a game next week.
All right, well, you've heard what we have to say about Group B. We're going to throw it over to this or that before we hit more groups.
Hey everybody, welcome to a special edition of This or That. Jatt here with Kobe.
Look at our brand new telestrator we've got.
It's a mobile show. The telestrator's
I've
big.
always wanted to be a telestrator.
Shox was friendly enough to volunteer. She has our slides, which we have never seen before. And are we ready to get into it? This or that?
Let's go.
World's
First
slide.
Here we go.
This
Best
or
in
that.
week 1. SKT1 Faker or COG? Ooh.
So, because of the Syndra game,
Best Aurelian Soul in week 1.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say this, even in the defeat, Faker was pulling off some epic plays and dodges.
That's what I'm going to say. Because of we compare the Syndra loss to the Cassiopeia loss for Faker, and he even looked cool. He's doing Faker things while he was dying on Cassiopeia, dodging a lot. So I have to give it to Faker, even though the Aurelian
Best
Soul
player of Dragon
was
champion.
much higher.
Right over here. Okay, that's good. It's Faker though.
All right, next one.
Next slide.
Do away with the
Telestrator's so fast at this. There we go. Bigger upset: INTZ versus EDG or Kaboom versus Alliance.
Telestrator wants to
I said
talk.
this during the cast. Telestrators do not die. The bigger upset: INTZ versus EDG. Telestrator, do you agree with this? Can
Yeah,
you say
because I
it?
want to forget about that one.
Okay, this one didn't happen. No, but really, I said this during the game. It was like the NCAA tournament in a sense. I had EDG as the second best team, and people were expecting INTZ to be 15th or 16th, and those upsets almost never happen.
Because even though this was an upset, Alliance wasn't projected to win the whole tournament, right? They were projected, to get out of groups, and they didn't do that. But this is definitely bigger. Plus, the way they did it, spectacular plays from Revolta and Yang. It was definitely a bigger upset. We'll both go with this.
Boom.
I got you.
Oh,
I do half your job.
All right.
Fire Week 1 jungler. This or that. Clear Love or X Smithy.
Ooh. Yeah, you don't have words, right?
It's that.
So Clear Love keeps dashing straight in a line and getting hit by these ash arrows. Everyone's making fun of him.
At one point, Clear Love was on Hecarim, and he actually jumped into the ash arrow. Still lived. He may have been asserting dominance, but X Smithy has actually been pathing extremely well in almost all of his games.
Yeah, even in their loss, you couldn't really criticize Smithy that much, and their win versus G2 was really, really good. We're a little bit NA biased here, but
Clear
I
Love
would
hasn't
definitely
looked
go
good.
Smithy.
I think Clear Love is the better jungler. I think he has a better history, but I think Smithy's
overall,
the better.
but yeah.
So that. Oh,
All right.
here we go.
There we go.
Oh, shit.
Sorry, sir.
All right, let's keep going. Keep going, Chad. All right.
Sorry.
More likely.
More
EU
likely.
What is it?
EU going 1-8 again, or ANX getting out of groups. Oh my goodness.
I think ANX are legit.
Whew. This is a difficult one.
Telestrators got some problems.
Glitches, yeah.
I don't know what's.
Anyway, ANX getting out of group. I still think it's pretty unlikely.
It is unlikely,
So
but this is also unlikely. Come on.
So it is more likely to happen. A wild card. Here's the thing: a wild card team getting out of groups. Even sure they started 2-1, or a team doing better than NA did last year in the second week. Happening again.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
NA
So
did 0-10. I think this is more likely, as tragic as it is.
also remember, if they in week 2 don't win any games and they go 0-9, that also counts for them not going 1-8 again. So I think just by the odds, this
You're
one's
gonna say
more
that?
All right, we're done with that one. All right, next
Time
one.
out.
All
I
right.
couldn't get it. Better Caitlyn, Uzi, or Stixay?
Ooh.
This is a tricky one.
I pretty much always have to go with Uzi.
I can't be too NA. Like Stixay does draw bans on the Caitlyn, but I think Uzi is one of the, if not the best AD carries in the world, and his Caitlyn is one of his best champions.
Plus, this doesn't specify, recent game or just at Worlds or
It's just
anything.
better
This is
Caitlyn.
literally better Caitlyn. I have to go Uzi.
Uzi, this. Final slide. I'm not going to throw this one. That was a mistake.
What in the? Oh!
Biggest massacre. Texas Chainsaw SKT versus C9. Well,
This one was pretty bad. I haven't actually seen this movie.
I assume he actually cut people apart with the chainsaw.
It's called Chainsaw Massacre,
Yeah,
so...
multiple people. Whereas C9 went on to win the next 2 games, so clearly they were okay.
I guess we're going with this.
Yeah. Okay.
Finish strong. All right.
We did it. This and that. I think we agreed on almost everything. Our telestrator disagreed with one thing. Shocks, thank you very much. Send tweets to the @Primetime League Twitter account, direct messages. Send us ideas for them. We won't see them. Production will. They'll put them on the cards.
Yeah, don't tag us in them.
Yeah, otherwise we'll see them. And this was fun. See you guys next time.
All right, now we will try to see into the future a little bit. Group C is the next on the docket. EDG, AHQ sit at the top at 2-1 with INTZ and H2K 1-2, looking to make an impact. How do we feel about the first week for this group?
Well, I want to talk about the first game in that group first. EDG, INTZ. For me, the biggest upset. I think for me, the biggest upset, that Yang Revolta combo just completely taking down Mouse in the top lane for EDG, and that looked like such a disaster for them. But then they were able to turn it around. Mouse played Irelia again 2 days later, and they looked better. But I don't know if I still feel the same way about EDG, as I had them pegged as definitely a top 3 contender to win the entire thing, but they don't look very consistent to me.
Yeah, I don't feel the same way. I still do have them very near the top for the entire tournament, but man, did Mouse get exposed. And that's going to be in the back of everyone's mind going into every EDG game now. They do look more comfortable now that they've subbed in Scout, who they played mostly with anyway. Right, exactly, went top and helped out Mouse. But honestly, yeah, EDG, that upset to INTZ, it got the group started off with a really exciting way, but it also a lot of questions now surrounding EDG.
Exactly. I've heard people say like, oh, EDG bounced back a little bit, and I did make this joke in the caster room, and then Stress mentioned it on air, but it's bouncing back the same way a soggy tennis ball bounces back, right? You want it to bounce back, but it just sits on the ground and only comes halfway up. You need that real bouncy tennis ball, like from the dentist office, or like the rubber bouncy ball that you throw in the parking lot and it bounces 40 feet in the air. That's what EDG needs.
So you're
if
saying
they
they
want
need
to
a
bounce
handful of quarters to get some bouncy balls?
Yes, they need to go. Wet tennis balls are not the way they want to bounce back. Aside from that upset, though, the entire group basically delivered on expectations.
Yep.
Because every other game, the pre-tournament favorite for that matchup ended up winning. So I wonder if we're going to kind of see more of the same, and if that really was just an aberration.
I mean, the AHQ H2K opening game, I thought would have been closer, or would have gone in favor of H2K, to be honest, but they didn't show up there.
Yeah, you say, pre-tournament expectations. I guess we're all accustomed now to lowering the European expectations, I guess, from what we've seen. But H2K, especially...
HQ was the #1 seed from the LMS, and they've made it to quarterfinals last year as well.
Yeah.
So, like, they have the history of success there.
Yeah, I just had bias. I just have totally tilted expectations. No, I do also want to talk about that H2K versus EDG game, because I felt like, especially with the bottom lane hype and, Forgiven versus Deft and how much Forgiven wanted to show, it's really unfortunate that level 1 happened. And you have to wonder I haven't seen Vander make a mistake like that ever. And then that happens. And to their credit, they bounced back and they got a double kill, but the damage was done.
I like this. Is our new unlucky, is unfortunate. It's the European
Last year was really unfortunate for NA.
It was. Week 2,
I'll take it.
Somebody else has to take it this year. So getting out of this group, what are your top 2 and why is it INTZ?
Both of them. INTZ and INTZ. Gang, Revolta. Those are my top 2.
Shocks, we'll start with you in the middle this time.
Sadly for INTZ, I think they're amazing, but I don't think they're going to make it out this year, just because I think EDG is strong enough that they're at the top. And, oh man, I really, really want to say H2K.
Do it.
I'm going to do it. I'm really going to say H2K. Right. I think they can get it back together and then get that big die shot.
Come up with your explanation.
Yes, I can.
Faithful in this.
They're most
making such a good case.
Their best game was versus INTZ, so I think they can repeat that. I think they cannot make the mistakes that they did in the early game versus EDG, and maybe not win that, but definitely win the game versus AHQ, and then they already have a tiebreaker. So.
Who's next? Me?
We can go to you, Kobe. Take the honors.
I'm glad you said H2K because I'm not going to.
Variety on the.
I think it's going to be EDG and AHQ, because my biggest fear for AHQ coming into this was Westor in the mid lane.
Adore.
And they've already shown that they are very willing to sub in Chowie, and just the fact that they are going to have that versatility, I think is going to help them moving forward. I have much more confidence in their late game than I do in H2K's. So I think I'm going to give the edge
make a lot of sense.
AHQ there. Even though I do think that we're still going to see Westor play some games and not just going to use Chowie. The fact that they'll rotate both of them, I think, will help.
Yeah, I think it's really weird that they subbed Westor back in for Game 3, because I thought Chowie did a lot better in Game 2. And if we're assuming EDG is the #1 team and INTZ as the #4 team, then it really just depends on who wins the next matchup between H2K and AHQ as far as who gets out in the group, which is shocks why I think H2K can make it out. Because I look back to the way that H2K played against AHQ, and they kind of dominated the laning phase and then fumbled the mid game a bit. And to me, that is a little bit more like what Flash Wolves are doing. And if they can consistently win the early game, that means they can beat AHQ, force a tiebreaker, and beat them again. And I think that's actually what's going to happen for H2K to make it out.
I agree.
1-8. It's not going to stay the same. They're going to get at least 2 wins, I hope.
Are Yang and Revolta going to take over another game?
I hope so.
I'm going to say no, probably
No?
not, just because it seems like people are kind of onto their tricks. Not to mention they got 1v2'd by Ziv in that one game. That was really disappointing to see. I think Revolta and Yang could, but I just don't think it's likely because either other teams are also going to camp that lane against INTZ or they're going to have Ziv. That's really good.
One of the other teams is going to have Ziv, so that's a
and the other two are going to camp top.
All right, well, that locks it down for Group C. Now we're going to head over and see if you know the pro. How well do you know your pro players? Well, we're going to find out in this week's edition of Know the Pro. On Tuesday, we tweeted out a haircut of one of the pro players here at Worlds, and if you had guessed that it was INTZ Esports Revolta, you would have been correct. Revolta made waves starting on the scene here at Worlds by beating EDG. He has a 3.33 KDA and a 69% kill participation, making him one of the cleanest Lee Sins at this competition. You can see Revolta take the stage as Group C ends it out this week, and we see who makes it to the quarterfinals. Welcome back and to our final group of the day, Group D. Thank you guys for joining me as well and staying here. I know it's been a long day. TSM, RNG, Samsung Galaxy, and Splice. However, there is a hell of a rock, paper, scissors between those top 3 in this group. Jatt, what is it looking like to you?
This group is super exciting, and it's also kind of what I expected to happen. I thought the top 3 teams in this group were going to be trading wins, and I wasn't going to be shocked if everyone ended it at 4-2, and then Splice ended up at 0-6, just because those 3 teams I had as 3 of the 6 best teams coming into Worlds. And there's been some up and downs and some inconsistencies, but this group is kind of what I expected.
Yeah, and I think it's very interesting because RNG was the team that we were looking at, say, if everything comes together, they can absolutely smash it. And then it looked like that for the first 2 games, and then they ended up dropping that game to Samsung. I think TSM similarly had ups and downs. Of course, that game versus Splice, where Splice, oh my God, that would have been such a morale boost for EU if they managed to close it out. But they were also, the health issues is something that we can't overlook. And I don't think it's an excuse. I think it is a huge impact for them. Bjergsen having barely a voice and barely being able to shot call in that game.
I mean, that's something that's affecting a lot of the teams in all the other groups as well. I mean, we heard about Smeb also. I mean, a whole bunch of the players on a lot of the important teams are having these health issues, and that adds to this variance that we keep talking about that we're seeing in group stages at Worlds. This group, as you said, though, RNG to me are the biggest wild card in it because they have such high potential, and we've already seen it. But then they also, you know, lost to that Samsung squad with the Skarner speed comps and the Jin that TSM is also using. It's incredibly hard to predict for those top 3.
Let me ask you guys, as from NA, you know, with all the hype coming in from TSM, how much of their potential do you think you've seen already?
This is mostly what I expected out of TSM. I think they've been a little sloppy because of the Bjergsen point and because I really didn't like their pick ban against RNG. But aside from that, their game against Samsung was what they did to most other NA teams. They've been able to hit those highs, but then they're also playing against substantially stronger competition in a lot of these groups, and we saw some of the lows. I think they're actually kind of delivering the way we expected them to.
The thing that actually did surprise me and I didn't expect was the bottom lane for TSM. Seems to be underperforming. Biofrost is getting killed 2v2 in lane, getting caught out a decent amount, and then double lift multiple times up in the side lane, no vision, trying to push. He did say that they had an explanation for that, but then he didn't give the explanation.
That's a big thing about TSM is, will Biofrost be able to improve his play, because he definitely feels like he's got some jitters going on. And I think another thing that could decide this group is just which team has the proper read on the meta. Because Doublelift seems to be prioritizing Jin higher than almost anyone else. And you do actually have to kind of have results-based opinions on this. So if they win with Jin, then maybe they had the right read on the meta. But I'm not 100% sure whether or not they should be prioritizing it so highly, or if they should be just putting double lift on Ezreal so he doesn't keep getting hit by Alistar Qs.
The cool thing to me for that group and for the little microcosm of the meta that they have for their own was the Skarner plus Karma plus Jhin and then double mages for the solo lanes. Both of them and Samsung used that strategy and it worked really well. Towards the late game, the pick potential with Jhin long range, slows, and then also speeding up Skarner got them a lot of...
And a revolutionary Kled from Splice. Honor her mentioned
revolutionary.
Fantastic.
I was so sad that was Kled's world debut because I really wanted to work.
Graves and
Don't we hear as well when players see it not do well, they kind of just shy away from it as well.
Here's the thing about Kled too. You can't early pick it. Like he has a lot of lane matchups in the top lane where he can get absolutely blasted. So it has to be one of these things you save for later. I still am hoping that a team is saving it for a nice, dive, steamroll, train comp. Exactly. But that one kind of took away some of my hope.
So we've chatted, we've discussed. I want your final two for this group. Might be one of the hardest ones to choose from now.
Yes.
Jatt, we'll start with you.
So because it's so hard to choose, I'm going to use whoever had the most impressive defeats, or said like who lost the least.
Right.
And in the sense for that,
the
like
best loss.
Samsung had the worst loss of all the teams that are 2-1 because they got absolutely slaughtered by TSM, and TSM had the best loss against RNG, which was the closest game we had of day one throughout like the first 35 minutes. So because of that, I put TSM, RNG, Samsung, and then Splice.
All right, Shocks.
I think that makes perfect sense. TSM first, Samsung third, RNG second, and Splice last with the caveat that they're gonna win their rematch versus TSM.
Then how's TSM gonna get first?
Wait, because RNG is gonna...
Wait.
Yeah, no, RNG can lose
Okay, yeah.
too,
I think
right?
it worked.
And then Samsung doesn't win anymore.
Yeah.
And then TSM win... Wait.
Shock showed her work.
Somebody get a gif of the numbers over Jatt's head.
No, and then they win the tiebreaker versus RNG for first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't doubt me.
4-2s, no doubt.
Get him.
There you go.
Full trust.
I don't know. Everyone's just so quick to fall back into the, TSM first, and then go down the line. I'm pretty worried, actually, especially with what we've seen from the bottom lane, and I was favoring RNG very heavily, obviously before they lost. I still kind of am, and I think that I might put RNG and then TSM is my only little tweak to that for the groups.
So scared about the wrath.
The TSM fans! That hurt me! But yeah, I think that TSM very, very easily could also take number one. That, as we said, that's one of the hardest groups to predict the top.
I also think TSM could get number 3. If they lose to Splice and then they do the same win trading they had in this time where they beat Samsung and lose to RNG, like then once again they'd be finishing in third. Like I said, I think this is an incredibly close group, and there's really one team.
We all agree.
We made our excuses. We covered our bases. But we can all agree, Splice is last.
It does also, like Jatt said, seem like Splice can take a game off of somebody when they least expect it. So that will round it out for our group recaps. But to be fair, week 1 has now ended. So we've compiled the best plays from around the world's competition in something no one yet can call it, the Penta. Coming in at number 5, RNG's Uzi picked up the quadra kill.
This is going to be another inhibitor turret in the mid lane. Inhibitor to follow. There's on the hunt. Splice. They want to try and make something happen. In goes Looper. Trashy gets into the backline, but he just doesn't have any damage. Uzi is tearing apart this team. And Kobe can't do anything. Another arcane shift. Pop goes the support. Out of the way of the wallop. That's the triple. That's the quadra kill for Uzi. And they'll just finish the game.
INTZ's Yang and Revolta played ping pong with EDG's Mouse in our number 4 play.
Revolta just walks up to it.
Yeah, it's what they give up in response, and so many times EDG has done this in the LPL where they just give over top side of the map, and Yang wants Mouse.
Oh, he got him! Gotta find him! The stun! The wall! The pin! Mouse gets knocked backwards! Revolta plays pinball and gets the hat-trick in the game!
This was just a great kill.
Yeah, it certainly was, and I guess Revolta even gets to put a little bit of the style on here, kicks him back into the car, follows up, easy kill there.
Leaping into number 3, TSM Svenskeren got things rolling as he delivered Bjergsen's Shockwave.
This is a really strange game from RNG that I've seen.
Svenskeren has found who delivers the shockwave. That was exceptional.
Svenskeren's on fire. The last second takes the cue and just blows up Xiaohu.
At number 2, Both top and jungle died as Cloud9's Impact picked up the 1v2 double kill.
Ooh, Impact actually using a lot of abilities here mid lane. A boy, this is going to be on him. Flash used. Do they have the damage here? Impact uses his just after. A boy very low. This is going to be a kill for Impact. Looking for number 2. The 2v1.
And in our number 1 play this week, it was Rox Tiger's Smev with the electrifying cannon ult.
Teleport's coming in. Curtain Call and Wish have already been used. And Trick is running away. Expect gets caught down. He's got a PA, remember, but he needs Mega. Oh, no! Deleted! If ever I've seen one, a G2 or an ace.
Expect is getting taken down, but you would think they would have the chance, and then they group up. Look at it. The Proto Bell hits all 4, just deletes the entire G2 team.
Remember, if you see any big plays during the Worlds competition, hashtag the Penta at LOL Esports. We'll make sure they get in there if they're good enough. And we have one more week left in San Francisco. So let's check in with the road trip to see how they're killing time before week 2 and our last hit.
What's happening?
Brian? What are you doing here?
Road trip to Worlds, baby!
All right. Odd one. Made it on the magical adventure, my friend.
Thanks, man.
It's like the 3 amigos right now.
Yeah.
Okay? We're on our way to Worlds, San Francisco. I mean, come on. What could be better than this?
Yeah, what could go wrong?
And don't say sleeping and food. We're like 3, dragons flying in unison, breathing fire down on everything.
I'll be Inferno. There we go. You can be like, which one? Mountain.
Yeah, I'll be Mountain.
Who am I?
So one of the most useful dragons in the game.
Okay, we're gonna cruise around the bay, get a couple landmarks, have a little bit of fun. Are you down with that?
I'm down, man.
How down are you?
Bay life.
Dyrus, what about you, brother?
Yeah, sure, man.
Hey, General, will you do me a favor? I'm getting a little hot. Will you give me a little tug on there? Keep tugging, tug. There we go.
There we go.
All right, first up, it's the cable car. Can I do a yank on this? 2 times? 3 times? 4 times? Yeah! 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 All right, I'm sorry, I'm done. I'm done. Okay. Majestic. I'd say even handsome. Take it all in. Have you guys ever had, I don't know, delicious clam chowder in a sourdough bread bowl staring at Alcatraz?
No.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, right.
Right now. We need to go to the game house, TSM game house, where they shot game cribs. That's what we need to do. You guys down with that?
I'm down for anything.
All right, how about this? You know what? We're gonna liven it up a little bit. I'm gonna say a word and both of you spit something out. Bjergsen.
Blue buff.
Danish.
Jungler.
Basketball.
Elo hell.
Worlds.
Awesome.
A lot of sadness.
I say
Faker.
God.
Oh, there we go.
North America.
Number 1.
G2.
Vacation. Yeah, me.
Yeah. Next stop, gentlemen, we are going to the TSM Bay Life House. I think this is it right here. All right. Let's go. Game Cribs house, baby. Let's see if we can get a tour. Don't mess this up. What was that? Hey! My name's Laserbeamz.
Angela.
Thank you. Very nice to meet you. This is my buddy, the odd one. This is my buddy, Dyrus.
Great to meet you.
Now, I know this is a little strange, and I'm sorry to bother you, but my buddies grew up in this house. Like, not really grew up here, but is there any way that we can maybe, like, take, like, a tour, or we could look around and see what the house looks like now?
Why not?
Yes.
Come on,
Okay?
guys.
Great. Get in there quick before they change their minds. Thank you. This area looks familiar right here. What happened here?
So we play DDR here a lot, but also it's where friendships are broken. Dyrus and Kat's hugged for the last time here, crying. Some say their tears are still on the ground somewhere.
So this was Reggie's room, except now it's actually clean.
My room is pretty legit. I didn't have a bed frame, but
You did not have a bed frame.
It was on
You
the
had no
ground.
furniture either.
I had a bed.
No, but you're...
No, I used boxes as tables.
This was the room where me and Reggie fought. Actually, several times, one off cam and one on cam. You're still fucking going on about that? I said fucking sorry!
What's the #1 craziest thing that ever went down in this house back then?
I mean, what's not the craziest thing, but Turtle almost burnt down the house.
How do you do that again?
That's
pretty, I mean, that's pretty...
Rice-a-roni, no water.
Where did all the magic go down? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about. Come on, not wrong. I've seen your Twitter followers, you know what I mean? You know.
If you're doing that because of girls, like there's like no girls allowed, I think.
I was doing that because of girls. How awesome was that?
It was really nice.
The house was really nice.
Yeah,
well, how ironic is it that the people that took the house, their business is to like make houses awesome. You took the chicken? What are you doing?
Shelly?
Yeah, they were nice.
Oh my
Dude, I can't
God.
take you
Such
anywhere,
nice
odd one.
She's already shedding.
Oh, he's a good chicken.
I've had some pretty amazing ideas so far on this road trip. I think Dyrus can back me up on that one. But I got another amazing idea, all right? It's on the way. We're gonna stop by the old C9 house. I hear that Rocks Tigers is staying there. All I'm gonna say is this. We're gonna take one back for North America. Yeah. All right, dudes. Told you I had a surprise. That's for you. Let's do this for North America. Let's do this for 2013 PAX. Meme this, Mimios! Woo! You're damn right I'm serious. Let's go, odd one. You do it. You do it too. Dyrus, get in here. Come on. Oh my, get another one. You take another one. Let's go, odd one. Dyrus, come on. North America! Oh, cops, run, run, come on, Brad. What are you doing? Dyrus, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Dyrus, please, just forgive me, man. I'm sorry.
Seriously?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I need you. You're my #1 road dog. I need you, my man. Please.
You're an idiot, but I'll come in.
I am an idiot.
All right, it's better
well,
than walking.
Not all the time, but I am an idiot sometimes. Yes, 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 yes. The road trip continues, brother. Come on, it didn't feel good out there. It feels good in here.
That was your worst idea.
It was my worst idea, but what are you gonna do, man? You know, sometimes you have good ones, sometimes you have bad ones. By the way, where's Odd One? Is he with you?
I thought he was with you.
He's not with you? Is he in the bathroom?
Oh, damn it, Laserbeamz. I hate Laserbeamz so much.